r/atheism. White Trench says, I don't even understand how this happened, because so many polling places said there were so many more women than men. Based on that we shouldve got a landslide victory, but it wasn't even close. I guess just the title I'm so crushed, cause I really thought, based on what we were seeing, that she would won. Is it just that misogyny was too much? Delta Foxtrot 144 says, the mistake was believing people wouldn't vote against their own best interest. Astri Redux says, no, the mistake was assuming they would vote for their interests, when we should have known they'd vote for the leopards. Necessary Share 2495 says, the mistake was thinking the American people were mostly good, decent, and intelligent. They are not. Clearly. A convicted felon was elected. A man that has been charged and convicted of sexual assault was elected. I don't care about the rest of your politics. If you can vote for a convicted rapist, deep down you are a truly shitty human being. Sorry, I'm just so I'm angry at my fellow Americans. We are a shithole country now. Thanks guys, that's all on you. When you lose your health insurance and your next car is going to cost you triple, and it's all Republicans in charge, so you can't blame the Dems, just know that is on you. And unfortunately most of the mouth breathers are too dumb to even realize it. Ugh. Crazed Prophet says, 20 million less Democrat voters vs about 3 million less Republican voters at this point compared to 2020. Democrats failed to hold on to whatever voters they got in 2020. Bilson says, pretty much our turnout sucked. If we did have the same numbers then sure, would have been a super easy win. So we know why Trump won. But what I really want to know now is why Dems lost. I'm sure it's not a single reason, but was it the late start? The fact she is a woman? I don't think it's a race thing. We voted for Obama twice. Did she not excite enough people to get out and vote? Did old people, major voting demographic, get confused not seeing Biden on the ticket and leaving it blank? Was it an AI bot from Russia that made Dem people want to stay home? Overconfidence that we would win, so people just got lazy and did not vote? Logan Boojak says, these are good questions we should all be asking. It does seem like the Dem party hasn't learned from the Hillary loss and somehow didn't recognize that Biden barely won. In hindsight, not having a real primary W/O Biden didn't allow the candidate we should have had to rise up. I do think Kamala did an amazing job given all the circumstances and probably could have done a few things differently. She definitely was not an exciting candidate and I think had a difficult task of not being hitched to Biden. But, as a nation, we are like 25 male votes less than 2020, which is an amazingly sad number. People must have been okay with what happened last night. Transportation Erng says, women voted against their interests. Sevseg Decoder says, women voted against the interests of other women. I see it as also voting against their own interests, but most of these women will never need an abortion and will never go through the experiences they'd have to actually live to have any sympathy for. r/atheism. Southwardly says, humanity would be better off without religion. Humanity could potentially thrive without religion by focusing on reason, science, and universal ethics, rather than doctrines tied to specific belief systems. Religious ideologies, while offering comfort and community to many, have historically been sources of division, conflict, and oppression. Wars, persecution, and discrimination have often been justified in the name of religious beliefs, pitting groups against each other, based on differing interpretations of the divine. By moving beyond religion, societies could reduce these divisions and promote a more inclusive cooperative world where individuals are valued for their humanity rather than their adherence to a particular faith. Without religion, moral and ethical systems could be built on shared human experiences and rational thought rather than divine commandments. This shift would encourage people to take responsibility for their actions based on the well-being of others and the planet, rather than fear of punishment or promise of reward in an afterlife. Moreover, the energy and resources currently devoted to religious institutions could be redirected toward advancing education, healthcare, and technology, fostering a more equitable and enlightened global society. Emphasizing critical thinking and evidence-based decision-making would allow humanity to address its challenges with greater unity and effectiveness, creating a future where progress is driven by common goals rather than divisive. Metach Bias says, religion works great when you are young, like the belief in Santa Claus, to keep you well behaved. But when you become an adult, it turns people into overly judgmental bigots who see anyone that isn't like them as a sinner. I'm still waiting for the devil to come possess me so I can experience those so-called exorcism that are completely pathetic. That holy water is just water BTW. And how many old people fail to wash their hands after using the atrium restroom before going into the church and stick their dirty fingers into it, staining it for others. Or maybe I'll host a show claiming to have the touch of God and smack healing into special needs people while taking their money to live a completely comfortable lifestyle while others suffer and starve. The power of Christ compels you to give me money for my own needs. But here's a holy blessed pin that I bought from Dollar General to make you feel closer to God. Lara says, preach. Spiritual Safety 3431 says, the only thing that keeps me from sharing this opinion is the quote, most atheist/people don't want to be atheist, and the idea of non-existence being terrifying for most people. Think of the amount of rape, murder, suicide, etc. that would happen due to their belief systems crumbling. My only hope is the slow transition away from religion, when logical fallacies and ethical dilemmas are taught in public schools. But the Bobiverse is seeming more realistic every day. Farmboy76 says, 100%. Let's get rid of it. But I reckon, even if the Pope himself came out and told everyone it was all a hoax, the fanatics and zealots would buy it and just double down on their rhetoric. It's just too much of a money maker for them to do away with it. Religion shouldn't be a way to make money. It's a sham, and everyone involved should be ashamed of themselves. Slightly Madangus says, we would all have jetpacks and flying cars. Purple Rabbit 5121 says, the question remains, can any worldview ever coexist and live in harmony? The only way X could equal Y is if and only if there was an illusion of moral objectivism. When people say they believe in God, what they are saying is that they had an emotional experience or an emotional relationship with God. Therefore God is an archetype innate to our consciousness, but some people have a differing view of God. There are two types of truth: physical truth and emotional/feeling based truths. Emotional/feeling based truth is love, hate, happiness, sadness, etc. These are the truths we call relative. They are phenomenons that depend on the reference point, but they are real, and they are there. Moreover, physical truths are those that we can physically see, such as 2 + 2 = 4. These are the truths that most people call objective. God is the emotional type of truth, and it is as true as 2 + 2 = 4. The difference is that one truth is objective, measurable and physical, and the other is relative, emotional/feeling based, but can be measured by looking at physical attributes linked to the emotion/feeling. The problem occurs when we say one truth is more important than the other. Just because you are more interested in physical truths doesn't mean relative truth isn't real. Thus we can effectively say that, since they are both real, one must be objective and the other must be the illusion of moral objectivism, thus successfully creating harmony between atheists and Christians, one of the most contentious debates of all time. I say, Jesus was raised from the dead, walked on land, and performed miracles. He is the epitome of all good. He is the Son of God, in the reference point of my culture, and not relative to me. I don't gaff about emotions. Any Elderberry 1194 says, agreed. r/atheism. XJ4M3ZX says, the children are not alright. On Thursday, Oklahoma's State Superintendent Ryan Walters issued a new memo and the latest signal has positioning himself to head the Department of Education, that is, until he eliminates it. Working with President Trump, Walters wrote, I will do everything I can to limit the federal overreach into education and return parents their rightful authority over our schools. We needn't guess what havoc a Secretary of Education Walters might wreak. As Christian nationalists are wont to do, he wrote it down. And like Betsy DeVos before him, his enmity towards secular public education has been clear for a long time. By comparison, though, DeVos now appears somewhat constrained by basic decorum and her fixation on privatization. Walters is constrained by nothing. He's a Christian nationalist, through and through. He doesn't bother concealing the real intention of school privatization as DeVos did. He's an unabashed revisionist. For him, propaganda is curricular. And he will not hesitate to use government resources to procure and disseminate it. If you don't like it, you're not American enough. He is, in a single word, dangerous. Melanie Cohen, Communications Director of American Atheists. Slightly Madangus says, DeVos was also part of the incredibly wealthy DeVos family that made huge contributions to the Trump campaign. What can Walters give to Trump? You always have to remember that Trump is 100% transactional. He doesn't give people positions of power, he sells positions of power. Sad Leopard 6736 says, Walters was working with Trump to get his Bible in all the public schools in Oklahoma. XJ4M3ZX says, that is very true, but Walters is a useful idiot and sycophant. If he weasels his way into a position with more power, he will surely abuse it. Trump loves adoration, which is Walters' currency right now. Time will tell, but Walters is a current threat to Oklahoma children. I only hope he is constrained to that state. Ajel Hasnan AIM 117 says, I've been considering starting a small business writing and selling educational curriculum focusing on STEM with a target audience of secular homeschoolers. If the Department of Education is abolished, I don't think I have a choice but to do it. Hippograndma 1962 says, I've had a similar idea which would also include teaching civics. Plasticad 8248 says, public school was my refuge from religion. It was where I could be who I wanted to be. That even though I was a girl I had equal rights to everything in that building. A place where, when I asked questions or wanted to know more I was rewarded with more knowledge, books, and praise for doing so. Where my curious mind was rewarded not scolded. Where I was taught I could do anything I put my mind to, instead of messaging to push me towards kids and marriage. A place where the books I learned from made sense and were not self-contradictory. Of course they want to destroy it. Plagoodbit Doctor says, just read an article about this. Having a Christian nationalist abolish the DPMT of education will be truly a catastrophe for us all. I'm scared for my kiddo, who is just 6 years old and female. This is truly the darkest timeline. Just walking along here says, we need to start writing too long, didn't read S of anything we want to spread. A big part of Trump's appeal to his voter base is that he uses 4th grade language because that's the highest you can go without alienating them. Recrevelly says, if the DOE is eliminated I wonder if we'll see coalitions of states form to standardize education. I could see NJ, NI, Court maybe PAR and MD joining together and making it easier to attend colleges in associated states. Send It Loud says, there is a way to fight back and it's being used in schools here in Utah. The parents' choice voucher system can go both ways. We can establish secular charter schools under this directive. There are many in SLC in my area. There is even one for autistic kids that's incredible. Also when you control your local school boards you can keep curriculum to a certain level. Maybe there will be some stupid requirement, but there will be opt-out abilities. I predict years and years of legal wrangling over any attempt to put religion into schools. And of course local control will become critical, further raising the cost of homes in good school districts. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.